Hey YouTube. So today I wanted to record another video about my trip, continuing on from Nikko, which was my last video. It was like a mountain town up in kind of a couple hours north of Tokyo in Japan. And I took a Shinkansen back down from there to the next city that I was visiting, which was Yokohama. For those that don't know the geography of Tokyo or Japan, Yokohama is really close to Tokyo. It's just a little further down from Tokyo. It's like the next city or the two cities over. And when you're talking about Shinkansens, one or two cities isn't that big, even with how large Tokyo is. So I ended up going over there and I wanted to kind of check out the main attractions, which was the Yokohama Bay, where it has that little Ferris wheel and everything, if you've ever seen any pictures. It just looks really nice, but the main attraction there at the time was the big Gundam. So there's this huge Gundam robot basically that was set up, and they made like a showroom out of it even though it was open air and on the bay. And basically it would do these monologue, action scenes of whatever Gundam monologue there was. I don't follow the series, but I am pretty big into anime, so it was really fun to go there and see. So that was my big attraction that I wanted to see. I did stay at another hostel. The hostel that I went to was called Chilulu, Chilulu. This hostel was fairly nice. It had everything that I needed in it. It wasn't a guest house like the Sumika guest house was in Nikko. It was a bigger place. There were multiple, one of those capsule hostels where you get your little spot and that's pretty much it. Shared bathrooms and all that. But it had a little privacy curtain and it was good enough to sleep in. Noise was bearable. And so I got there in the afternoon and had a free day. And so the next day, I didn't really do a whole lot. Or the very first day, I should say, I didn't do a whole lot. So the first day, I had noticed that my foot was starting to hurt, my left foot, and it was kind of like the bottom in between the sole and the toes. And I could tell this fracture or this little pain was something I'd experienced in the past. This wasn't a new injury. I remember when I was bartending a few years ago. I used to bartend. I bartended for about 6 years before I got into the industry I'm in now. And I remember just being on my feet all day, working doubles, back and forth, hard turns. I thought I had developed this little stress fracture in my foot, and this had actually come from something that was done a long time ago when I was a kid. I had hurt myself working out and stepped the wrong way. And being a kid, I had it casted, but after the second day, I cut the cast off myself because I couldn't bear having a cast on my foot. It was just so itchy underneath it, and I couldn't walk, and I hated it. And I was immature, so I didn't let it heal properly. And ever since then, I'd had this little pain if I try to be on my feet for a long, long time. I can do normal walking around totally fine. But if I'm on my feet for 20,000 steps day after day, carrying backpacks, basically being out and about, it does start to come up again. And I'm sure it's a stress fracture that has just never healed correctly. Anyway, it was starting to pop up again. And it makes sense because I did about 3 weeks of pretty rigorous hiking and walking around in Hawaii. And now I've been in Japan walking around Tokyo and then Nikko. So by the time I got to Yokohama, my foot was starting to hurt quite a bit. So I wanted to take it a little bit easy because I knew I still had a ton of my trip left, not only in Japan, but afterwards as well in different countries. I was literally just starting. So I want to just let it heal. So that's why I didn't really do anything the first day in Yokohama. The second day in Yokohama, I actually ended up meeting my friend Toshiki, who I had met in Tokyo. So if you remember my Tokyo video, I had met him through Cass, and we explored Shibuya together. And so that was really cool to see him again after just a few days, and we caught up. He lived in Yokohama, so it was a pretty easy way to meet up again. And he took me to this China dumpling house, and we had some food there, really good food. And then he just kind of took me around Chinatown. Yokohama is like well, at least that area is a really, really big Chinatown, the largest in Japan. And so, obviously Japanese stuff, but I still have these pictures of these little candied grapes and strawberries on a stick, pretty popular in China. And so I was eating those and just walking around, seeing all the shrines and temples, the Chinese shrines and temples. And they're probably not called torii gates, but the big shrine gates were up, and they're ginormous compared to anything I had seen in Japan up until this point. And different colors too, with Chinese writing on it. And so that was pretty cool to see. I took some pictures up in front of them. No idea what they said or even what the shrines were about, but they were just nice to see. And then I went around this little shopping area. I didn't really go inside or anything. Just he was telling me that this is where people do all their shopping. And then I just kind of called it quits for the night. It was a pretty boring day after Toshiki had left. And the next day it started to rain. Um, so I went ahead and went over to the Gundam place as early as I could before it started downpouring. The Gundam place was, like I said, the main attraction and where I wanted to go see. And this thing was probably, I don't know, 50 feet tall at least, multiple stories tall. So it was pretty unique to go see that while it's still up. I think it's been taken down now, so I'm glad I saw it while it was still up. But basically, it's right by the bay. It was raining, so we had our umbrellas out and just walking into it, and you could buy two different tickets. The first ticket you could buy was just the normal general admission, which is all I really cared about because, like I said, this wasn't an anime I was interested in necessarily. This wasn't Dragon Ball Z or Bleach or something that I really like. It was Gundam, who I never really watched or got into the series that much. I just knew about it. So I was fine with the general admission. Walked inside. The first floor of the building is essentially just a store, a Gundam store, where you can buy official Gundam merchandise. The second is a restaurant. And it's a Gundam themed restaurant, so they have all these like Gundam burgers and Gundam fries and shakes and stuff like that. The reason I'm only bringing this up is because that was the worst burger I had ever had in my life. Now, when I was in Tokyo, like I was saying, I found this burger spot with some friends that was actually really good. This was not one of them. The Gundam burger place was terrible. Terrible. I couldn't even finish it, and I was pretty hungry. Could not even finish the burger. Even the fries were kind of just meh, stale. And anyway, and then the show started. So the show, we were on the second floor. I was on the second floor, sitting down, just looking at my terrible burger, and you could see right out in front of you the big, big, big Gundam. And it started doing its little performance. So it would move around very slowly and talk to you all in Japanese, of course. And then, just played out like a little story or a scenario where he was getting attacked or something. And it was pretty cool. They had like steam effects and lights and stuff. And I'm sure that if you were a Gundam fan, it would have been a lot cooler than what it was for me. But like I said, I'm glad I at least got to see it while it was still up. After that, I still had a good chunk of the day, so I kind of just walked around the little bay area. The rain had cleared up a little bit at that point, where the kind of the Ferris wheel is on the side, and just kind of looked at the gardens area, and I saw this kind of elderly gentleman, probably not that old, probably in his 40s or 50s, and he was walking his older Shiba, and it really made me miss my dog, my Shiba. I have a Shiba Inu. If you don't know, he's about 3 years old now. At the time, he was still pretty young. And my mom had kind of adopted him for the few months I was going to be gone. So, I had really missed him. I'd already been gone in Hawaii for about 3 weeks and now Japan for another week. So I'd been gone over a month since I'd seen him. And just being around another Shiba obviously made me feel a little homesick. But it was fun. I added him on Instagram. He's got a Shiba Inu page, so I still see his posts and stuff. Um, but yeah, so that was pretty much it. At the very end of the day, I went and got a massage, a little foot massage at one of these kind of higher end massage places, and the guy was really good. It was like an hour massage. It was fairly cheap. The dollar was really strong. So, it was fairly cheap massage and it lasted an hour, but I could tell that this was not like a sore muscle type of foot pain. This was going to be something that probably would have bugged me for the rest of my trip if I didn't let it heal. So I tried to just sit tight and let it heal for the rest of the day after the massage. Went out to McDonald's for food, which was the closest thing to my hostel, one of the closest. and then just went back to my hostel and watched some anime and rested a little bit. So that was pretty much my experience in Yokohama. To recap, I met Toshiki, we had some food, I saw the Gundam area, and I saw the Yokohama Bay. Those were really the main attractions that I wanted to see. So just a couple of days in Yokohama, and I was off to my next destination, which was a little bit more in nature and kind of what I wanted to do a little bit more, spend a little bit more time in, which was Hakone. And so Hakone will be my next video. Very beautiful place. A lot of hot springs, onsens. And I went to this place called Owakodani, which is a sulfur place. And you had this like, anyway, that's for my next video. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and until next time, bye bye.